Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 11th day. Very busy day. I forgot to eat dinner. Actually, just grabbed a quick snack before I came in. Taking in all this free agency talk in the NFL is like trying to drink water from a fire hydrant. You know, when it's just coming at you so fast, I can't get all the information. I'm sure there's a few things I'm going to miss. That's why we got tomorrow. Tomorrow, by the way, Rich Ferris, Titans Radio, 104.5 The Zone, the Titans flagship Cumulus radio station, will be on the program. Going to talk Titans, made some big moves, signed a center, Tony Pollard out of Dallas here, Awuzie from cornerback out of Cincinnati. Going to bring him on Wednesday. We know that Mac Jones is no longer a New England Patriot. Going to have Keith Engel, big Patriot fan, has a lot of insight from the Patriots and whatnot. Also, I don't understand. We have a big tournament heading this way. We've had college basketball conference tournaments we played on starting this week. I want to say the Big East starts on Wednesday. The SEC, all the big conference tournaments, plus the big tournament 1 week from Thursday. Talk about that. I know about Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson. We'll do the quarterbacks. Let's take our first and only break. I'll hit the ground running. Be back here in 49 seconds here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All right, now I'm back live. Okay. And been following the NFL pretty consistently since the first Super Bowl I saw was a 91-92 Washington Redskins Buffalo Bills game. Okay. Fast forwarding, started paying attention to contracts. I was fascinated with them about 20 years ago when I started college here at Austin Peay. We talked about that with Carlos Madden, New Yorker Chavez, who will be back Friday, hopefully. And I'll talk to him about that big Brian Burns trade, too, with the Giants. But for about 20 years, I've looked at contracts and thought they were fascinating. The second contracts, huge contracts in NFL, NBA, et cetera. And since I've been doing this show, since May of 2017, be the 7th year anniversary, either doing it one day or multiple days a week. In May, there'll be the 7th year anniversary. I've looked into the details of what's guaranteed, what's not. I understand that a lot of the stuff you see on the headline, whether it be on the X app or website, is not really the real number. I say all that to say, over that period of time, I've never seen one player be compensated as much for doing very little as far as actually winning championships, playoff games than Kirk Cousins. I've never seen one player compensated as much as he has. God bless him. I know he's a guy of faith. I'm a guy of faith. I've got my shortcomings. But for the Falcons to sign a 36-year-old, the guy will be 36 in August. His birthday's on the same date my sister's is. Crystal, happy birthday late in August 19th. But he signed a 4-year deal. Think about this, folks. Coming off Achilles injury at 36 years old for $180 million $100 million of that's guaranteed. I made some notes. He is 7. Remember that big issue about his primetime record? 7-9 in primetime as a Viking, 12-20 in primetime as a career starter. He is average at best starting quarterback, mainly hired for intangibles, which is leadership skills and whatnot. And to get into the details of this thing, thank God for Spot Track here. It's just, this guy has really cashed out. I mean, he is just a product of the time. Okay. This is actually Warren Sharp. I thought this was Spot Track, but a Spot Track must have retweeted it. Okay, so Kirk Cousins drafted in 2012. We know he's a 4th round pick by the Denver Redskins in the same year that Robert Griffin III was drafted. The big move here, that was in 2012. So he signs. And 4 years later, $19 million fully guaranteed contract. That was the franchise. That tells you how much this league has exploded, folks. $19 million, $19.9 million fully guaranteed. Franchise him again for $23.9 million guaranteed. Then he goes over to the first ever, by the way. Then in 2018, he goes over to Minnesota, 3-year deal. $84 million fully guaranteed. Then in 2020, $60 million fully guaranteed. 2022, $35 and then 2024, he signs this contract, $100 fully guaranteed for his career, $329 million fully guaranteed. And 1 playoff win to show for it. And you don't blame Kirk Cousins. You blame the people. And I look at his numbers here compared to, say, Mac Jones, who was just dealt for a 6th round pick. They just got rid of him, moved him to be a backup in Jacksonville behind Trevor Lawrence. All right, but I'll cut into slack since he tore his Achilles last year. But let's look at 2022 with Minnesota. Justin Jefferson, all in targets, Hockenson. Okay. This guy has, Kirk Cousins, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Completion percentage, 65. Wait a minute. 14 touchdowns. 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. 65 completion percentage, got put out at home as a favorite against the Giants. Go figure. Then you look at a guy like Mac Jones, rookie year, which remember, he got to the playoffs when he had a competent offensive coordinator. And Josh had a competent offensive coordinator there. And what you call it there for New England, right? With under that was his first year. Remember, the next year, Josh, whatever the heck his name is, moved over to took the head coaching job with the Raiders. But here's Mac Jones's first year: 67 completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, 1 less interception. Yeah, you say, well, he had 29 touchdowns. Yeah, that's with Justin Jefferson, all those ballers, right? On Minnesota there. And he's playing indoors against a much weaker division there. Year before last. That was when Detroit had one of the worst defenses in the league. Okay. So you look at it that way. You look at Mac Jones, who's on a rookie contract, $2.7 million hit there, had shown some promises. Now, cocky, entitled, bratty. Yeah. You could say that for Jones, but also look at the fact that Bill Belichick used the defensive coordinator and a special teams coach who had not a lick of experience as offensive coordinators. You look at and so he takes these two and then pushes this guy's numbers way down. Last year, try to revamp. We know what happened the last year there. Things kind of fell off a truck. But you look at the coaching staff and the management, Kirk Cousins don't get people fired. You're not going to win anything big, but what he'll do is he'll stabilize your organization. I understand Bijan Robertson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, a well above offensive line, weak division there. I get that aspect of it. But to sign him to 4 years, see, he was a guy that is coaching out of fear rather than coaching to win. That is managing out of fear rather than manage to win. Now, they may win that division. I was wrong last year about Tampa, and that could buy you. I mean, it worked out for Tampa and Baker Mayfield, but they paid Baker Mayfield. Tampa paid Baker Mayfield $4 million last year. They're coming out. They're going to pay. Atlanta's going to pay this guy closer to $45 million. Yeah. 36 coming off Achilles. Okay. But that's the fear. That's the league we're in right now. You're not, and maybe they will turn around and because all the numbers on his contract as far as what the dead cap number would be next year versus the rest this year coming up and the year after that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen. This all just happened today. So we're in the early stages of tamper. This is called legal tampering, legal negotiations. Nothing's on paper until Wednesday afternoon. Okay. But as of right now, that was a fear-based, stabilize my job for a few years type of move, instead of getting a guy like a Mac Jones, for instance. Since you've got a good staff there, you gotta believe in your staff, right? If you're Raheem Morris, you gotta believe in him, which I think he does, you know. But wouldn't you rather add another receiver, some big name receivers out there? T. Higgins wants to be traded from Cincinnati. Okay. Hollywood Brown is still out there. Marquise Hollywood Brown is still out there. Calvin Ridley, now that was with the other staff though, right? They moved on from him. Now he hasn't re-signed. He's still a very formidable, true number one receiver. Now there may be some other things about Ridley. Maybe that's the reason why Jacksonville hadn't re-signed him, but I digress. Okay. They've got the 8th pick. But I'm saying that they could have added more pieces, brought in Mac Jones, whose numbers are very similar to Kirk Cousins' last full year there. Okay. To last 4 year, then they could have turned around and drafted a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix in the second round. I'm sure from everything I hear and read, Penix is probably going to slide because of his injury history. But with that Atlanta offensive line, he'll be indoors. Morris gets a lot of his he bounces off ideas through Sean McVay. He's well connected with a lot of those coaches from the Rams. Very progressive, fluid type of offense here. But they take the safe way out. That buys job security. John Gruden was not fired when Cousins was there. But they just didn't believe in him enough to get him a big contract. They knew he couldn't get him over the hump. But he can win. He's good in the locker room. Like Jim Jofgold said one time when I was on the Mac and Jack, he's Beaver Cleaver. He says anything and that's before my time, but I get what he was saying. He says anything the adults want to hear in the room, and he's kind of the guy that coaches like. And the players, they went over, but you're not going to win big with him, you know. You're not going to win big with him. So that was a very safe type of let me worry about my job security rather than winning type of mentality. Now, that's something a guy like like the coach up there in Detroit, that's something like he wouldn't do, right? I mean, he's almost a little too far the other way with the Lions, but he plays to win. I like that. He plays to win, coaches to win. He knew that Goff had been to the Super Bowl, right? They made a good trade today. They got Carlton Davis from the Bucs here. They helped their secondary out a lot. So sometime this week, probably next week, I'll go over and talk about my favorite free agent signings and whatnot. But that was a very, very let me watch out for my job type of and maybe it'll work. Maybe, and it'll probably work. They'll probably be right there to win the division next year with Tampa. As I expect New Orleans to probably move on from Dennis Allen there. And we know Carolina's probably still going to be in the cellar. They just traded away their best pass rusher for a second-round pick. Okay. Other big play, Russell Wilson. Now Wilson he's going to sign this week with the Steelers. That broke last night around midnight. I was still up. I couldn't sleep, because I was peeking the Lakers game because I had that in a play there. And of course the Lakers did me right. They won by more than 4 points. So Russell Wilson goes to the Steelers for the league minimum, $1.12 million. 39 and some change is being paid by the Broncos. Like I said, I thought that was going to happen. They're not going to trade him. He's not going to do these guys any favors. So he's going to be working with Arthur Smith, former Titans offensive coordinator. Did really well with Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill had his best numbers of career year, particularly in the red zone. With Arthur Smith, Tennessee actually, and by the way, he was making $4 million, by the way, very similar to what you see here, making $4 million, making $7 million at the time, actually, with Tennessee. And of course, Tennessee in 2019 got the AFC Championship game, only to get put out by Kansas City. Now, that being said, Wilson, that it feels like a lateral move to me. It doesn't feel like an upward type of move. I know that his numbers, if you just look at them, they're comparable to other superstars in the league, Lamar Jackson, everything last year. That's why you can't lean too much into numbers. I know that their offensive line is much better with Pittsburgh. If Pittsburgh had their team and they played in the NFC South, I just mentioned the South, this would be a home run hit. But the problem is they playing in the best division in football, okay? And, Joe Burrow's going to come back. Cincinnati's reloading as we speak, He's going to be back strong. Lamar Jackson, they're going to be strong again. They lost a few players, but they're very deep. They're going to be strong. Deshaun Watson, just add another piece. Jerry Jeudy now is the Cleveland Brown. Nothing. You got him with Amari Cooper, David Njoku. That's a very strong division. Yeah, they were 10-7 last year, but who's to say they won't be 10-7 again this year because the competition, it's just that much better, And so I found a bite here from Mark Schlereth, former Denver Bronco, 3-time Super Bowl winner, covers the Bronco games, local radio there, also covers for Fox here. He's just telling the truth, man. He is simply just telling the truth about Russell Wilson. And he's taken up for Sean Payton. Listen up to Mark Schlereth. I think he makes some pretty good points here. Listen up.
Sean Payton deliberately tried to sabotage Russell Wilson. Do you understand how stupid that sounds? Let's think about this logically. And I've known Sean Payton for well over a decade, okay? And can he be a tyrant? Yep. Can he be a dick? Absolutely.
Language here. Sorry
Is
about
he
that.
egotistical? You're damn right. He's a good coach. He cares about his players. And ultimately, what you're saying is that this egotistical man who cares about winning and wants to win another championship sabotaged his quarterback. And on top of that, 52 other players on his roster so he could get his way. He's going to get his way regardless. They signed him to a long-term deal at $18 million a year. You think he's not in charge? By the way, for those of you who said, well, he didn't adjust his offense, do you understand how stupid that sounds? I mean, did you not watch 2022 when they decided here in Denver to let...
And he made a good point, adjust the offense to beat Kansas City. And they did. That was one bright moment for this team. They ran the ball 40 times to beat Kansas City, including 8 rushes by Wilson himself. They did change the offense. They're a short passing team normally when he was with the Saints back in the day. Here's more from Mark Schlereth, making some good points about Russell Wilson, the 36, 37-year-old Russell Wilson, and his shortcomings. I totally agree. Listen up.
Russ Cook, how'd that work out? He's the worst quarterback on the planet. Come on, it's not my fault. Listen, the guy's a great guy. There's no question. I mean, he's a godly man. Hey, listen, I love Jesus too, but I'm not going to make excuses for a guy who's not playing well. He doesn't throw in the middle of the field. He doesn't throw with anticipation. He doesn't throw guys open. He doesn't operate on time or on schedule, and he takes way too many sacks. So get over yourself. They've moved on, and well, they should, because Russ is beyond his prime, and that's just a fact.
Yeah, and going against those pass rushes in the AFC North, Myles Garrett just won Defensive Player of the Year, okay? How many angles is that Baltimore defense going to come at you? You know, Cincinnati with Lou Anarumo calling the shots there. How many angles are they going to come at him? Okay, going against that particular team. So it looks like, okay, man. I mean, that being said, it's they really can't lose on this. I mean, $1 million and 1.1 million. It's a league minimum here. This is a take you're probably not going to hear anywhere else, but that's why I'm the best, right? What you can hope for as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, as this signing, and it should if he's a human being, a red-blooded man, an alpha, and Kenny Pickett, a competitor, is that he beats out Wilson, that he plays so spectacular in camp. He's got wheels. He would be a good fit with, he's a kind of like a Ryan Tannehill type. He's only coming into his third year, folks, Kenny Pickett. All right. We got to keep that in mind. He's only, and this line has been bad the last 2 years. It got a little bit better. They drafted Broderick Jones out of Georgia as a left tackle. Towards the end of the season, they moved him over to right tackle. Okay. But their run blocking got better. They do have some weapons here. And I did want to make sure and notify. Yeah, they do got Jaylen Warren, who really broke out last year, the other running back, not Najee Harris. He's your out of the backfield playmaker. George Pickens, he has not even hit close to his peak yet. Freiermuth, the most consistent player on the offense from a fantasy perspective. And, of course, Deontay Johnson, who's up and down. A lot of these guys got maturity issues. But that being said, and you got that defense is going to get you out there. There's going to be days where that defense plays way over its head and makes big plays. They come up with a big upset. They'll beat a Baltimore team when they're underdogs by 4 or 5 points like they always do. And then they'll turn around and lose to Atlanta team or a Carolina team that they're favored by 8 points. That's Mike Tomlin coach teams. That's been the history of this guy. But my point is, you want Kenny Pickett to really blossom out of this and beat out Wilson. You want him to beat out Wilson. I don't think they'll cut Wilson. I think they could take trade offers in case somebody gets hurt in camp. But that's what you want. You want Pickett to beat out Wilson the way Wilson beat out a veteran at his rookie year. Third year, Matt, I Matt Flynn. I'm talking about luck. I can't. Yeah, Matt Flynn was signed out of Green Bay. He was a backup there for Aaron Rodgers. He signs out of Green Bay with Seattle. They drafted Wilson in the 3rd round out of Wisconsin, a primary running team. I didn't think nothing of it. I didn't think anything of Russell Wilson coming out. But Wilson played great in camp. He beat out Flynn. He beat out Matt Flynn. That's what you really hope for. Because with a guy with his athleticism, because Wilson's lost a step. He's, like he said, he takes too many sacks because he cannot get away with Russell Wilson the way he used to. You know, like the late, great Toby Keith said, I'm not as good as I once was if I ever was. Now, he ever was at one time. He could run. I like Wilson. But these are the truths about Wilson, okay? And but then again, if you're a Steelers fan, you don't have anything to lose. But you really want Pickett, who still has a higher upside, a 20-something-year-old Pickett versus a 37-year-old Wilson, to get this job. Pickett does. He's not good with the deep ball. Maybe he develops that in the this offseason. Okay. Now, most people expect Wilson to win this job, but what you really want, because you want a higher ceiling, but due to this, is Pickett to actually beat him out, and for Wilson to have a great camp. Pickett just have that breakout camp like a Jordan Love did right around November of this past year for the Green Bay Packers. They believe in this guy so much they spent a lot of money, but they got Josh Jacobs and cut Aaron Jones. They don't know him. They're not a free agent destination. But that $48 million, Jacobs' eyes got big and said, I'm going to Green Bay, Wisconsin. Okay? But my point is, Love has motivated that organization enough to say, we're going to go all in on this guy. You know, we still got him for a pretty cheap price here. Cheaper than a 5th-round option. Okay? But, and of course, if Wilson does start, we all expect him to. The best you can hope for, maybe a playoff win or two. That probably just a playoff win. Still don't see this team beating a Buffalo team who's making a lot of adjustments right now. Still don't see them beating in the playoffs. I don't see them beating a Joe Burrow-led Cincinnati team. I don't see them beating a Kansas City, who's all in, by the way. Kansas City is all in this year. Team in the playoffs as well. Particularly Buffalo and Kansas City, because the quarterback, how do you want to put this? The quarterback gap is so big, per se. All right. But they seem to match up really well with Baltimore. As good as Baltimore's been, they've always seemed to match up pretty well with Baltimore. Okay. Speaking of Cincinnati going all in. By the way, Wednesday I'll have Keith Engel on. Mac Jones, he's been cut. Not cut, he's been traded for 6th-round pick or something. Basically given away. I mean, the 15th overall pick in 2021. Just not 2020. Think about this for a second, folks. You had Joe Burrow. You had Justin Herbert, all second contract guys. Jalen Hurts, second contract guy. 5th-year option guy and probably second contract guy. Tua, all 4 of those players in 2020. In 2021, you have Trey, whatchamacallit there, from the 49ers, who's now with Dallas. Can't even remember the guy's name now. So now he is he's with Dallas, traded away. Okay. Zach Wilson, they're trying desperately to get rid of him. All right. Just to name a few there. Mac Jones here, 15th-year-old. Justin Fields, you can't give him away. All right. He's still with the Bears. You never know what you're going to get out of these drafts, folks. You know, it's somewhat of a crapshoot with these particular quarterback signings. Okay. Brett Veach, general manager, Kansas City Chiefs. up till this point, has been very disciplined to the principle of not overpaying for positions. And not, for example, just a few years ago, Tyreek Hill traded. Dolphins got rid of tons of players. Christian, was it Wilkins? Their defensive tackle signed a massive $100 million deal. He's now with the Oakland Raiders. He's now with the Las Vegas Raiders. Xavier Howard, 30 years old, still can play. Very good cornerback. A lot of people's going to be looking at Xavier Howard. He's cut. Had to readjust Jalen Ramsey's contract there. I mean, they're getting rid of players left and right, cutting this player, moving this player around, adjusting this guy's contract, just all to keep Tyreek Hill. This is, but Kansas City, Brett Veach, very disciplined, traded Tyreek Hill, been gone 2 years, got 2 Super Bowl wins out of it. Last year, let Orlando Brown walk, and I was for sure that was going to be the death dagger. Signed Donovan Smith out of Tampa at left tackle and made it work. And the Juwan guy got rid of the right tackle and brought in this Juwan character from Jacksonville who couldn't line up right. But they got that fixed. Andy Reid got it fixed and made all this stuff work. And then his eyes got big. Vanity got in the way. Fame got in the Brett Veach. Fame got in the way. He says, we can be the first team ever to three-peat in the NFL. Will be in the history books. And it's like he's hanging on. He's hanging on, doing things the right way. And that idea of being a three-peat, he's like, I'm not letting Chris Jones walk. We're going to sign him to a 5-year deal, 29 years old. $100 million plus deal here. And I thought, wow, man. You know, if Chris Jones better play well next year, his cap hits $34 million. So this is all in the three-peat. Jones' cap hit 20. And I like Chris Jones. He's a tackle. He's a defensive tackle. I'm higher on defensive tackles than other football people are. I want to get pressure right on the tip of the ball. I want to push a quarterback to his right or left because then you're pushing them to the sideline. The defense has another defender. They can push a guy out of bounds. Or they can push him where he catches the ball out of bounds, right? You know, if you come off the edge, then a guy can move up and down the sideline and throw this way or that way. But of course, people still like having edge rushers. I like edge rushers. They get paid big money for a reason. But I'm a little bit higher on defensive tackles than I am edge rushers because sometimes, for one thing, some of these guys can rush everywhere. They can rush all over the best lineman on the team in Chris Jones. So his cap hit next year is $7 million. So Brett Veach, his eyes got big. Instead of signing him to a 3-year deal like he should have, he signed him to a 5-year deal where Jones wouldn't be absolutely give him no flack in the offseason. And, you know, in 25, that cap hits $34 million. In 26, Chris Jones at 32, be $40 million. And then in 27, it's 34 and 41. His dead cap this year, if something happens where they cut him, would be $60 million. That would be crazy. But it's 52 and 25. It drops down to 18 and 26. That's when they'll start restructuring this guy's contract, see, Chris Jones. But he stayed disciplined. So they're all in the three-peat with this. This is very Kobe Bryant type of contract where you're paying a guy more for what he did rather than what he's going to do. So they're all in, but if you're a Chiefs fan, you really didn't want to chew off that much. You probably wanted to have like a much cheaper contract the first 2 years. and then make a lot of dead money in the third year. Okay. They're not going to win 6 Super Bowls. Go figure. But that's what he's looking at. That's what Brett Veach eyes got big, and he got off his discipline by signing Chris Jones to the defensive tackle. I like him, but he's 29. Okay, you don't sign a tackle 29 to that kind of money. This is going to be Von Miller. I knew Von Miller's contract. Von Miller just restructured his contract. Von Miller missed many snaps. He was not even helpful last year. He was a third down back guy, but they kept him. They restructured him, but he was post 30, and he got a massive Buffalo got desperate. That's what I feel like Kansas City. They got a little desperate with the Chris Jones extension here, if you ask me. Okay. Other observation of day one of NFL free agent. What do you want to call it? Free agent negotiating period. None of this stuff can be signed until Wednesday again. But the running back market, I was listening to Mel Kiper, and I think his guy's name is Jeremy. He's pretty good. That's not Fowler. I can't remember his name. Doing a mock draft. And they're saying, and I've read this from a lot of mock, there's no running backs going to go in the first round this year. He said Mel Kiper don't think a running back might not go to the third round. Now, I like Ray Davis out of Kentucky, who had 200 yards against Florida. He'll be available. I mentioned this Schrader guy out of Missouri. He'll be available. Those are just two guys, not to mention Benson, running back out of Florida State, supposed to be all world. He'll be available as well. But that being said, very big names. I was surprised at some of these signings. DeAndre Swift, boom. I think he was the first to go off the board. Went to Chicago. Now, Swift goes to Chicago. Saquon Barkley goes to the Eagles. Now, I'm looking at Swift's numbers, and they're very much equivalent to Saquon Barkley. Yeah. And of course, Barkley got paid. But here's Swift's numbers last year. I mean, the guy, he caught 39 balls, 214 yards, touchdown. Okay. Is that Swift? That's his receiving numbers. He ran for 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, and that's when you got a quarterback taking a lot of the touchdowns for you with that tush push. Listen to Barkley's numbers here. Barkley caught a lot more. I mean, Barkley caught 41 balls last year for 4 touchdowns and 280 yards. Yeah. But he only ran for 962 and he had 6 touchdowns. So you say, well, the line's better and all that. But these numbers are equivalent. Why take a guy out when you know he can play? Not to mention the fact that Swift's only 24 years old. Barkley's 26. It's a couple years older. So I'm not sure if I love that. I don't know if and again, a lot of teams love to take players in their division because you see them twice a year. Happens to Titans. Everybody, you see a guy in your division. Barkley was back and forth with Tiki Barber, and Barber said something, you trade her, and then Barkley said, hey, you've always been a hater anyways. Don't try to smile in my face. I'm okay. Barkley just want to take the money. I don't blame him for it. They did lose their center, Kelso Hall of Famer, but they re-signed Landon Dickerson, big contract at guard. Left tackle, they're solid. Right tackle, still Lane Johnson. He hasn't retired. Very solid there. They're going to run the ball, and they just need to actually run the ball and get him the ball in the flat. But again, this segment just talking about the running backs. The running backs just went off the board. I was very surprised. So it really, there's still some value, but the running backs aren't going to make $20 million. Not like the receivers. Their value is between in their prime $8 to $12 million, and that the 12 million being what Josh Jacobs got at Green Bay. Okay, but again, Tony Pollard with Tennessee, I was a little down about that on Tennessee. Then I looked. Tony Pollard had 1,000 yards last year. Played every game. He was coming back from an injury prior to that. And, of course, around $6 million for 3 years there, or it may have been 8, but 6 may have been guaranteed. I didn't look at his guaranteed money. And then Austin Eckler went to Washington. And, again, I mentioned the fact that Josh Jacobs went to the Packers, $48 million. He's the best of both worlds, can run between the tackles, a lot more explosive. I would try to draft another running back, and move off Dillon myself if I'm a Packer. If I'm a Packer executive. Gus Edwards went to the Chargers, so Chargers lose their running back. They signed Derrick Henry's still out there. There's a chance he could still go to the Ravens. Not unless this has happened since we talked. I didn't even eat dinner tonight, folks. I just there's so much stuff going on here that I'm constantly reading. The Seahawks are closing on the deal with Leonard Williams, so they're going to keep Leonard Williams. Now, I do like the fact that the Giants, they got rid of Barkley. There's rumors that they're going to move off Daniel. They're done with Daniel Jones. I've talked about that last week, but Brian Burns is a house of fire. Okay, this looks bad. The trade that they made for Leonard Williams, where they traded Leonard Williams for that extra second-round pick per se, and moved him to Seattle, they used that and got the pass rusher, 8 sacks for Brian Burns, I want to say. 25-year-old pass rusher there from the Carolina Panthers for a second round and a 5th round pick. Of course, he agreed to a 5-year, $87 million extension with $87 million guaranteed. That's a big money. But you start to look at Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side, Bobby Olwick and Deonte Banks. That's some pretty good defensive pieces, especially at the front, top 3. The Giants were outclassed. They were blown out by the Cowboys twice last year. They got handled by the Eagles in years past. Now, they played the Eagles much stronger this year, but they're making waves, okay? They're owning their mistakes with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley being the number 2 pick overall. So I'm okay with that. I don't know what else they're going to do at 6 now, because now that the Patriots, they're going quarterback now since they traded away Mac Jones. So I don't know if the Giants want to make a move. Or maybe not even draft a quarterback in the first round. Maybe try to get a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix in that second round. They still have that other second-round pick. They still have their second-round pick, from my understanding. So, going back to the running backs. Everybody's off the board except Derrick Henry, who's 30 years old. Okay? So they're not totally expired. They're just not worth what people want to pay. I'm surprised that this many went off on day one. That was my whole thing here with the whole running backs type of deal. Okay, good scope, bad scope. Good scope. Baker Mayfield would sign. This is where I was right, where I was wrong. I said it would be fair. It would be fair for Baker Mayfield to sign a deal like Geno Smith. Okay. Comeback player of the year type of stats. He played really well. Mike Evans is back. I said, 3 years, $75 million. Well, they gave him 3 and $100, but then I read today only 50 of it's guaranteed. Tampa, that's not a bad play there. They're still holding on the players. They got rid of Shaq Barrett, and they traded Carlton Davis, but they still got a good core of players there, and they freed up a lot of space here for Tampa. I was right about that. That is what happened over the weekend. Okay, bad scope. Was thinking, like I just mentioned, that more teams would lean on more running backs out of the draft, guys like Ray Davis from Kentucky. and or Schrader out of Missouri. No, it's day one, and they're flying off the market right now. So I was wrong about that. Good scope. Russell Wilson would not accept any kind of trade from Denver, that he would make Denver cut him and probably go play for the league minimum somewhere. I was right about that. Of course, he's going to go to Pittsburgh now. I don't know if he's going to beat out Pickett. I don't know if he – and if you're a Pittsburgh fan, you want Pickett to beat him out because Wilson is still limited. He still can't get away the way he used to. He'll be fine, but he's not going to be – he's never going to be that guy you've seen in Seattle. Those days are over with. It is what it is. I played the Mark Schlereth cut earlier, former Denver Bronco who watches all these games, and he makes some very good points. Bad scope. I thought that the ownership would not own up to it in New York. I didn't think the Giants would own up to the fact that the way they took the Daniel Jones with the familiarity with him with Eli Manning. He played under Eli Manning's head coach. They played on the same David Cutcliffe that he played for Duke. Now they're saying they had buyer's remorse. You had to go figure. This guy's been hurt a lot. He's inconsistent. Trips over his own feet. Same thing with Saquon Barkley, who was overdrafted. Drafted number 2 pick overall. They passed up on Josh Allen. They passed up on, of course, hey, that was done by Dave Gettleman, who was a disaster with the New York. People are finally starting to see what I've been saying for years. But I was wrong for thinking they wouldn't own it, but they've owned it. Barkley's already gone. He went to the Eagles, and they're working on moving off of Daniel Jones, which they've got to keep him one more year due to his cap situation, and then they'll move off next year. Okay, good scope. All along, not extending neither him nor Jones. So I was wrong about ownership. I thought ownership would hang on a little bit longer, but I was right. I was right all along about the whole thing. I mean, I was right about the fact that they were not good picks at the time. Okay. Anyways, okay. Other free agent signings. Okay, now again, I like what they did. Going back to the Giants here, I like the fact that they took a big shot at a Brian Burns with Joe Sheehan. Josina Anderson says Joe Sheehan did a nice job here. If we look at the combined worth of the second-round pick in 2025 combined, Carolina come down to getting the deal done. It looks like Carolina may have got the bad end of the deal here. Okay. Let me look at a few more here. I like what the Titans have done. I like what they have done. They're Awuzie, former Dallas Cowboy, former Cincinnati Bengal at cornerback. He's a ball hawk. I'm surprised Cincinnati did not bring him back. The Titans reached in. The former offensive coordinator reached in and got former Bengal here for 3 years. Did not pay him a fortune either. Okay. 3-year deal there. Chidople Awuzie. Yeah, I'm sure I'm jacking that name up here. Also, I wanted to compliment, trying to see if I can get through all this stuff here. Yeah, look at this stuff by the Dolphins. This is a compliment to Kansas City. The Dolphins have lost Christian Wilkins, who made a fortune, defensive tackle, a fortune with the Raiders. Okay. Xavier Howard's still out there. He's been cut. Really good cornerback. Brandon Jones, safety. Jerome Baker. Keelan Carlson, their cornerback. Their Emmanuel Ubla at linebacker. I mean, just a bunch of players they cut here, And I'm trying to look and see who else. The Giants, and then the Giants are signing Devin Singletary. So Singletary is pretty close to Barkley, except he's more healthier. That's not a bad pick. So the Giants really didn't have that bad a day as much as people may think. Okay. But Tennessee, they signed a good center. I think it's in Cranberry or something out of Denver. They've signed Tony Pollard, 1,000-yard rusher. He's still only 20. He'll be 27 this year. Still plenty left here. I like the Bears. The fact that the Bears got DeAndre Swift. Now the Eagles did get what was his name? Bluff here. He's former Jet. Jets reporter was very upset about this. They're losing one of their edge rushers. So the Eagles got a really good edge rusher here. I think his name's Bluff or whatever. Got him. Just not in love with the Barkley signing. Thought they they could have saved some money and simply kept Jacksonville's. Jacksonville. I'm looking at Jacksonville because Gabriel Davis is signed with the Jags now. He's no longer with the whatchamacallit there. No longer with the Bills. But the Bills, they re-signed Deion Dawkins, their left tackle. So they're doing some things here. They're doing some things. And listen, folks, it's still early. I mean, there's still a lot of big names. I mean, Daniel Hunter's still out there, he's a major free agent out of Minnesota, Daniel Hunter. So he's wanting big money, and he's probably holding out for somebody to bring up the ante a little bit. I knew Burns was going to be a big one. And, of course, he's already traded and signed here. Of course, what's that name? L'Jarius Sneed, cornerback out of Kansas City. He's a big one. Could get traded. Now, again, Brett Veach, his eyes have gotten big. The general manager for Kansas City, man, he's thinking history. He's thinking three-peat, NFL history books. He just overpaid over the weekend for Chris Jones. There's going to be a lot of dead money with that. Okay. That's about 2 years too long contract, but he's thinking next year. Don't be surprised if they go after another receiver, another big name player here and try to just go all in to win another Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to happen, but I didn't think they'd win this year. I really didn't think they would win this year. Of course, the Raiders signed Gardner Minshew here. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and Kayvon Thibodeau. That's a pretty good line for the Giants there. Okay, now, of course, they got to work out their quarterback situation, but they still have picks. They can make moves. Could they go up to 1 with the Bears? Probably not. Justin Fields, by the way, that's a good scope. I could throw that in there. Justin Fields. I said it was crazy. They're not going to get no 1 pick for him. Now they're finding out there's not even a market for Justin Fields. Where's he going to play? Wilson's already signed. Where's Justin Fields going to play? So anyways, it's a lot going on. Again, tomorrow I'll have, I tell you, the most shocking signing of the day was Green Bay signing Josh Jacobs. I didn't think they would shell out $48 million for a running back. But they got the Raiders running back there. It's going to be a really good pickup there. Lloyd Cushenberry from the Tennessee Titans, former center who does not miss games at all. I hope I didn't curse the guy, but I'll have tomorrow. I'll have Rich Ferris. We will talk about the Titans off season so far and their free agent signings. Leonard Floyd, the 49ers got Leonard Floyd, former Ram, and I think he played for Jacksonville as well. So they're reloaded. So it's still a lot of Xavier Howard's still out there. Calvin Ridley's still out there. Hollywood Brown, former Arizona Cardinal wide receiver, still out there. Tyler Boyd is still out there. So a lot of receivers still out there, folks. Either they're asking too much or maybe there's something going on. I'm a little concerned. Why is Calvin Ridley a team that traded for him? Why haven't they re-signed him? Is there something else to Calvin Ridley? Remember, he was suspended for a year for gambling. Is he got some work ethic issues or whatnot? He played well. He played well with Jacksonville last year. Okay. So there's some good cornerbacks still out there, like Xavier Howard. Man, I'm surprised. A lot of good safety. CJ Gardner-Johnson still out there. DJ Reader is reading that Titans may be in on him. That's tackle free agent from Cincinnati as well. So a lot of shifting of chairs. And of course, Wednesday, Keith Engel will be on the program. Going to get that take on Mac Jones. I thought they could have got a little bit more out of him. I was really surprised that he was traded over the weekend. So if you all like the show, share the show. I'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, and I'm sure we'll have a flood of more news to talk about here on Sports Scope. Thanks for watching, everybody.